Hi, and welcome to the Becoming. If this is the first time you're seeing me, that means you missed my previous video, my introductory video explaining what this channel is about, my submission to be your favorite mindset shifter. And I think you should go check it out because I dropped some gems in there. And if you've seen me before, it means you accepted my submission to be your favorite mindset shifter, your new and favorite mindset shifter. So today we're back again with more gems on personal development, mindsets, and growth. Today, I'm going to be talking about why I think you should begin your own personal development journey. So stick around. Let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about what personal development is. What really is personal development, right? So from my definition, how I understand personal development, I'd say is continually getting better, seeking incremental gains in who you are as a person with every passing day. So you don't wake up 5 years later, 15 years later, 25 years later, and realize you just lived a life fully on autopilot and you didn't live for anything you wanted. You didn't do anything you wanted. It was just the path that was drawn for you by societal norms. That's my definition of personal development. Basically, just pushing yourself out of the normal and doing something to add value to yourself every single day, chasing incremental growth every single day. So, why is personal development important? I'll tell you why. Systems tend to move towards disorder when they are just left to be. You have a home, right? You do not need to help your home get dirty. You don't need to actively make your house dirty. You don't need to actively sprinkle rubbish around and bring dirt from outside. You don't need to do any of that. Your house can get dirty all by itself. It does not need your help to be dirty. It can do it by itself. Why is this the case? Because systems tend to move towards disorder when they are left alone. So now how does this add to personal development? You can apply the same principle here because as a human being, you are the only one of God's creations who has the ability to grow, to become more than you were previously. When a dog is born, right, the dog can only do what it was always going to be able to do from the very start. A dog cannot grow and then 5 years later the dog cannot ride a bicycle. The dog was walking when it was a puppy. It will continue to walk the same way when it is an adult dog. It's not going to change. Yeah, you can train dogs and teach it some tricks when it's young, but that's the most it can do. Every single creation that God created cannot do more than it had the ability to do from the very start, except human beings. This means God expects us to continually become better. You have the capacity to learn how to do anything, to become better at anything. And it is fascinating because the faculties in your brain are designed to help you do that. They are designed to help you do that. They are designed to make your life easier. You see, think about this. When you were younger, when you were a little kid, you didn't know how to brush your teeth yourself. You didn't know how to eat yourself. You didn't know how to take a shower yourself. But as you grew up, you learned how to do all these things. And now it's subconscious. You don't need to be conscious when you are taking a shower. You don't need to be actively wondering, okay, so after I scrub my hand, where do I scrub next? No, like your subconscious mind has mapped this out for you. So now that particular experience, that particular activity is subconscious. You can just enter the bathhouse, get it done. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, you're out. Because it's subconscious now. Why is this so? This is so because human beings are created to get better, to evolve. So all you need to do is put in the effort, the very start, and then your brain, your subconscious mind will just pick it up and make it automatic. So all the things you know how to do now, I need you to look back at a point in your life where you didn't know how to do it. Maybe you can drive now. Maybe 7, 8 years ago, you didn't know how to drive. If you sat behind the steering wheel, you were not coming back home alive. You didn't know how to drive, but now you do. How do you know how to do it? You learned it. And then after some time, your subconscious mind made it completely seamless, completely effortless. So you can get in your car, you drive, you're going to work, right? You get to work. You don't even know how you got there because it's subconscious now. You can be driving and listening to a podcast, driving and singing to loud music. You don't need your mental faculties attentive, completely attentive, because the subconscious mind has taken over. The subconscious mind knows how to do the driving skill now. And that is why personal development is meant for human beings. You have the ability, you have the capacity to evolve and become better than you were before. If it wasn't something we were meant to do, that ability wouldn't exist. The ability for your brain to form neural pathways to make you be able to do something that you once found difficult, effortless, would not exist if personal development was not designed by God for humankind. Two, reason why it's important. Number two, it gives you a sense of purpose. Imagine you wake up and every single day your life is the same. You're living Groundhog Day every single day. Wake up, take a shower, go to work. Wake up, take a shower, go to work. Do the same thing. Nothing different. You are not adding anything else. You're just repeating, rinsing and repeating the same routine for 1 month. Do you know how sad you are going to be? Do you know how unfulfilled you are going to feel? And if that's the life you are living right now, I'm here to tell you that is why you feel unfulfilled. If you wake up and you're doing the same thing every day, you go to a job you've been at for 5+ years, so now everything you're doing is just automatic. Your brain is seeking novelty and you are not giving that to it. That is the exact reason why you wake up and you're not excited to face the day. You wake up, you're not excited to go to work. You wake up and there is nothing happening in your life that is motivating you to wake up with energy. You're just lying there like, do I really have to go to work today? Do I really have to do this? Is it another Monday? Every time you have such thoughts, it is because your life is lacking fulfillment. And you should go on a personal development journey. That is the only way out of the rat, guys, honestly. Every day that passes by, you are either getting better or you are getting worse. There is no in between. There is no just standing still. You are getting better or you are getting worse. So, are your habits making you better or are your habits making you worse? This is a question you have to ask yourself with every passing day, because you can't just stay still. Like how I said, the system moving towards disorder. If you are not doing anything to the system, the system here being you, it means you are just moving towards disorder because there is no intention. So you are moving towards disorder. But if you are intentionally curating the life you want, going after things that you have set for yourself, you have fulfillment in your life, you're moving towards growth, you're moving towards happiness and success and development. Otherwise, you're just moving towards disorder, babe. You're just moving towards disorder. So now that I'm very certain I've convinced you to go on your very own personal development journey, I'm going to tell you how to do it. Because you didn't expect that I'll come here and rant about why you should start your own journey and just leave it to figure it out. No, I'm going to give you tips and tricks on how to go on your own personal development journey. Okay, the very first thing you need to get clear on when you want to start a personal development journey is your why. Your why. Yes, you heard me right. The why is the only thing that's going to keep you going when it gets difficult. Because it's going to get difficult. I can't even lie. It's going to be difficult. I'm not going to say, oh, it's all roses and flowers and it's easy and you are happy and you wake up, you're fulfilled. No, there are some days the goals that you have set for yourself without anybody asking you to set those goals are going to test you. Trust me, I've been there, I've done that. I'm still there, I'm still doing it. So yeah, you need to have a why, a very strong why. You need to find out the reason why you want this particular thing you're working towards. When you begin, the very first time you start, there's going to be this energy, this zeal, like I really want to do this. I'm so happy I started doing this. And then a week later, a week is even a stretch. Let me say 3 days later, you wake up and you're like, who has even sent me? Why am I doing? Who is asking me to do all of this? Who is asking me to put myself through all of this? Getting very clear on your why is the only thing now motivating when things get hard. The only reason why I'm so certain things are going to get hard is because it's a principle that exists. Disruption will always follow intention. If you decide to begin working out, you're not going to feel great the very first day. You're going to wake up sore. Your body is going to be hurting. You're going to be tired. But then you're going to keep going at it, and then you finally reap the benefits. The very minute you decide to start doing something good, disruption is always going to follow your intention. That's why you need a why. The why will keep you going. So every time those why are you even doing these thoughts come up, you have an answer, and then you give the answer to yourself. It pushes you to keep going. Why am I even struggling this much? Because I'm working towards my dream life. Voila. Now, after you've gotten clear on your why, you need to sit down and ask yourself, what do I really want? You need to get very clear on your wants. What is it you want? Now, this is how I do it, right? I divide my life into categories. So we have the finance category, love and relationships category, the personal relationship category, like the relationship I have with myself category, relationship I have with God category, right? My career covers education, work life, all of that. The career falls into that 5 categories, right? Now you have these 5 categories. You need to identify what you really want all these areas of your life to look like. What does your ideal relationship look like? What does your ideal financial life look like? What does financial freedom look like to you? What does it look like if you're having the best time with your friends and family? What does it look like if you have a great relationship with yourself? What does it look like if you have a great relationship with God? Get clear on all of these things, because when you get clear on what you actually want, it just helps you curate your goals to your own liking, and then you actually give yourself proof that you're working towards your dream life. You're working towards a life where every single thing is as you want it. Now let's talk about how you go about creating these goals, right? So some of these goals should be soft, easy goals, like read a book, read 5 pages every single day, do this little thing. And some of the goals should scare you. I read this concept called a BHAG. A goal that is a BHAG is a goal that is big, hairy, audacious. So a big, hairy, audacious goal is a BHAG. Now, what do BHAGs do? They push you way out of your comfort zone. You see this goal and you're like, okay, attaining this goal is going to change my whole life. You should go for that goal. If you create a list of goals from your wants, some of those goals should be scary goals. They should be goals that feel like, can I actually achieve this? And what I find about big scary goals is that it creates room for God to move into your life, move through your life, right? Because if you create goals that are attainable, like goals that don't really scare you, you know you're going to be able to do it on your own. I mean, yeah, these are okay goals. They don't scare me that much. I'm working towards them, and that's great. But if you add goals that scare you, you know that this goal, the only way you're going to attain it is if a higher power comes from somewhere and intervenes for you. Those are the type of goals you should mix with your normal goals. Big, hairy, audacious, scary goals. Because these goals, they are not only going to allow God to move through your life and show you that He's got your back. They are going to fortify you. They're going to make you strong. They're going to give you skills and experiences and stories you didn't even know existed. I have lots of big scary goals that have changed a lot for me. Incorporate a big, hairy, audacious goal in there. Let me give you an example of this, right? So let's say a big, hairy, audacious goal would be, say you currently make 4 figures a month. Now it will be completely normal to say in about 2 years time you want to be making 5 figures. So it will be like incremental gains. That's all right, that's great, right? But what if you took that particular goal and made it a big, hairy, audacious goal, made it scare you, right? So instead of saying 5 figures in the next 2 years, you make it 5 figures in the next 6 months. How are you going to do that? You don't know, but it's not your business, right? So long as it's a big, hairy, audacious goal, you trust that God is going to give you the how. You trust that the forces at play in your life, they are going to help you get there. You just need to take consistent action, right? You need to have a game plan, but that doesn't mean you have to have it all mapped out. There should be parts of the plan where you leave gaps for God to move through, because after all, it's a big, hairy, audacious goal. And the reason why you shouldn't just have only big, hairy, audacious goals is because you need to build some self-trust, right? Some goals should be as little as wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning for 1 week. That's how tiny setting goals should be. Because the more you build self-trust, the more confident you become in yourself, the more you know that you are a person who follows through. So I encourage big, hairy, audacious goals, BHAGs. I encourage them so much. But then I'm not saying all your list of goals in the 5 categories I mentioned should be BHAGs. No. Maybe you can just have one BHAG, because the more goals you reach, the more milestones you pass, the more you keep your promises to yourself, the more you are telling your mind that you are somebody who follows through. You're somebody who can be trusted. And that builds confidence. And the more confidence you have, the higher your self-worth, the more you see yourself as a person of value. This is exactly why you should mix scary goals with easily attainable goals. Now let's talk about mindset. So a very, very important part of a personal development journey is the mindset you're working with. You don't see reality as it is. You see reality as you are. Two people, person A, person B, can witness the same experience. Person A will take something away from it, have an okay day. Person B will take another thing away from it and have, oh, this is my sign, this is my sign. Because they have two different perceptions. So now your mindset is going to fine-tune the reality you see. It's going to determine the opportunities you see. It's going to determine how afraid and anxious you are at trying new things. So if you want to begin a personal development journey and you want to be effective, you want it to be an effective one, you need to work on your mindset. You cannot have the normal mindset you've had, that you've just been working with, and is an okay mindset, and sometimes you're pessimistic, sometimes you're optimistic. No, you need to have a sharp mindset that is borderline delusional. Yes, borderline delusional. Your mindset should be that of winners. Your mindset should be one that pushes you, that tells you that, oh, this is so possible. Say here there is a 99% chance of something not happening. Your mindset should be sorry for the blunder. Your mindset should be so sharp that 1%, your mind tells you that, oh yeah, that 1% is so ours. We have that 1% in the bag, like we have it. That is how your mindset should be. The greatest people have always had delusional self-belief, delusional mindset. Like you listen to them, you're like, what kind of thoughts run through your head? And then yeah, it takes a while to get there. It takes a while because there's a lot of negativity around. There's a lot of things around that propagates, oh, this is so hard, this is not possible, this would fail. You need to work on the mindset you have. This all boils down to self-talk. Have you listened to the voice in your head? Do you know what that voice in your head sounds like? Because that voice in your head that is always talking every day is telling you what your mindset is. You try to do something, oh, please, you are never going to succeed at that. Just you try to say something to somebody, oh, please, they don't even want to hear you. You are bothering them. Go and have a seat. This self-talk is tearing you down. It's negative. And that is the mindset of the 99%. Majority of people have mindsets like this, and they do not help anybody. They do not help you reach your destination. They don't help you become a better person. That is the limiting mindset. It's a mindset that holds you back. The self-talk in your head telling you what your mindset is about. If your self-talk is not motivating you, it's not telling you that you are a star, you're so beautiful, you can have it all, you can do it all, then your mindset is limiting. And the self-talk in your head is just letting you know how limiting your mindset is. Now, how do you change that? It takes some work, because if you've been having negative self-talk and negative mindsets for a really long time, it's going to take some work. But one thing I love about the brain is that it's so plastic. You can change anything just like that. The very second you have one good positive thought, that neural pathway has been formed in your brain. You just need to keep firing thoughts through it and reinforcing positive self-talk. It will keep firing through that neural pathway. It will form. And eventually you will naturally have a positive self-talk, a positive mindset, and a positive lens of viewing things happening all around you. I'll make an in-depth video on this, but for now, all you need to know is to change your mindset, change the negative self-talk going on in your head. Pick one positive affirmation, just one. Start looping it in your mind. The pathway is created. The more you loop thoughts through that pathway, it gets stronger. Now let's talk about the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset. On my journey, I learned a lot about the abundance mindset and the scarcity mindset. And I realized a lot of things we do come from a place of scarcity. And it's not everybody that has a scarcity mindset, but it's normal to have been born and having a scarcity mindset ingrained into you even before you got older. It's so normal, especially in Africa. It's so normal. So you have to actively change your mind, train your mind for abundance, have an abundance mindset. It took a lot to get there, right? But then an abundance mindset is the roots through which you can achieve so many things. Let me give you a perfect example of a scarcity mindset. So, two people have a business idea. Two people at different points in time, different areas have a business idea. One person executes it, starts posting content about it online. The second person also had the idea, sees the first person's content, and it's like, oh, somebody has already done my idea. It's never going to work. If I do it, it won't even work. That's right there. Scarcity mindset. Two, you see something on the internet. Oh, this looks like a great business venture, and you want to try it. Somebody in the comment section is like, oh, this thing, the market is saturated. There are so many people doing it. There's no money there anymore. That is scarcity mindset. Scarcity is basically telling you that there is not enough for everybody. There is not enough to go around. And that makes no sense to me, because abundance is God's literal nature. God is the God of abundance. And if you are a child of God, why should you ever see scarcity? Why should you ever feel like there is not enough space for you to thrive and be your best self, unless somebody else leaves the space for you? Scarcity is the reason why, a scarcity mindset is the reason why envy exists. It's the reason why rushing exists. It's the reason why anxiety exists. It's the reason why so many negative things exist. And I'll do an in-depth video on that. Yeah, I know I keep saying that for everything, but truly, I will do in-depth videos on that. I'm just giving you chips of the block for now, just for you to take it in and start your own journey. But in subsequent videos, I'll break down the whole abundance and scarcity mindset. The very first place God puts human beings is a garden. A garden is the perfect epitome of abundance. Let me tell you why. So in a garden, consumption creates more. When you consume something in a garden, it creates more. Case in point, Adam and Eve take an apple. No, let me not use apple. Adam and Eve take an orange, right? And they eat the orange, throw their seeds on the floor. The seeds grow, right? They produce an orange tree. That orange tree could go ahead to bear thousands of oranges. So they consumed one orange. It brought forth a tree, produced 1,000 oranges. So the equation becomes one orange equal to 1,000 oranges. Consumption created more. That is abundance. If God was a God of scarcity, he would have put us in a bakery. So in a bakery, consumption creates less. You take your eggs, flour, milk, sugar, you make a cake, and you give it out, you sell it. There are now less raw materials than you started with. You have to go get more. That is a system of scarcity. Using the stuff you have, using those things, causes there to be less, right? But in a garden, using what exists naturally causes there to be more. And God puts the first human beings in a garden to show us that he is the God of abundance. There is absolutely no reason why you should have a scarcity mindset. Absolutely no reason. Everything God created was so vast. See the number of stars that exist. See the number of sand, grains of sand there are. Abundance. And you really think your God wants you to have a scarcity mindset? No. He wants you to have an abundance mindset. It's the only way you're going to excel at your personal development journey. The only way. So an abundance mindset is just literally thinking to yourself that there is more than enough for everybody to have more than enough, for there to still be more than enough left over. And I got this definition from my favorite YouTuber and preacher and speaker, Myron Golden. So yeah, that is the definition of abundance. And if you let that definition infiltrate your thoughts and your mindset, it will help you see things in a whole different light. Now let's talk about your habits. So habits are a very, very important part of your personal development journey, because your habits are the building blocks to which you're going to achieve your goals. Say you set a goal for drink 2 liters of water every single day. but you don't have the habit of drinking water until your throat is so dry, you sound like a frog, you need to change that habit to be able to realize your goal. This is why habits are important, right? So it takes 21 days for a habit to be fully formed, just 3 weeks. And I advise that when you are about to begin and take on a new habit, don't take 10 new habits all at once. That will just lead to mental overload. Pick 1 or 2 and just start. So before a habit happens seamlessly for you, you need to have the identity of the person who would naturally do that habit. So my reading, right? When I wanted to learn how to read, I didn't like to read. So the identity I was holding was I hate to read. And if your identity is contradicting the habits you're trying to build, you're going to suffer. You're really going to suffer. So it was just a mental effort. I put in a mental effort and I told myself that, you know, as Irama, officially we are now the version of ourselves who loves to read. So every time I opened my book, I would tell myself I love to read. I absolutely love to read. James Clear says this in his book Atomic Habits. Before you start a habit, you begin a habit. And for it to stick, you need to identify as a person who naturally does that habit. See, your brain loves identity. Your brain loves to do things based on identity. For the personal development journey, just start. Don't wait for the perfect moment. Or let me wait for a new year. Or let me wait for a new month. No, just start. Start wherever you are. It could be the 23rd of a month. It could be the 2nd of a month. It could be the 15th of a month. You don't have to wait for the new year. You don't have to wait for a new month. You don't have to wait for a Monday. Just start. Start wherever you are. Because starting gives you momentum. Because when you start, you get the fire to keep on going. Just start with a small habit. Start with something small. Just go for it. You should be here next week when I drop more videos on everything I have to share with you and have more mindset shifts with me and go on my journey with me. I'm so glad you're here. I love that you're here and I love that you're going to keep coming back because you love the mindset shifts I give you. So yeah, see you later. Thank you for being here. Bye.